This is a good one. Police and Democrat run Oakland, love the title. Democrat run Oakland urge residents to use air horns if targeted by criminals. Don't call the cops. I mean, you can, but it's going to take them a while to get there. And by the time they get there, things are already going to be over. Instead, get yourself a handy dandy air horn. Those bad boys are loud. Let's get into it. Let's see what the deal is. Here we go. Air horn. Honestly, this is where we're at. We're recommending, okay, guys, you're basically on your own. Let's think strategy here. Now, cops aren't going to come. And even if they do, it's going to be a long time after, before they get there. So essentially you are on your own, and we know that you're going to get targeted by these criminals because they're doing it all over. So bottom line is we're going to need you to arm yourself with air horns. Air horns. Air horns in Oakland. It's what we're doing. This is where things have devolved to. Use an air horn. Have you used an air horn lately? I have lately on my boat. I got to back my boat up because I pull into this big boathouse thing, and I pull out going next to a dock, bunch of houseboats. And so rule of the marina is that you've got to do 2 before I leave the marina and enter Lake Union, before I turn my head and see the Space Needle. So I've got to, and the horn hasn't been working on our boat for a long time. We got it up and running, but I've been using an air horn instead because it's portable and I can, kind of do my thing as I'm driving back out. I'm up on the fly bridge. Those things are loud. Like, it shakes my inner ear. And I'm like, oh man, it's, that vibration. I cringe every time I go to use an air horn. So yes, they are effective, but every dog in the area is like, it starts barking and it pisses off the neighbors, and, adjoining boats are all like, why don't you just use your horn? I don't have one. So I use the air horn. They're loud. I get it. They do make an alarming sound. Police in Democrat-run Oakland, California are urging residents. Crime has risen to a point where police are not only addressing the purchase of air horns, but also the placement of security bars, doors, and windows, CNN noted. Not shocking. Not shocking. I had, you know who you are. You're on the, every morning we do a premiere at 9:00 and 11:00, releasing our 2 videos of the day, Monday through Friday, except when, we have downtime, for Seafair. That's exactly what happened. Couldn't get the podcast out. That happened, I think last weekend. But, so we do a premiere and somebody was like, hey, what's the shenanigans level in Florida or in Texas? And I was like, well, it used to be all the crazy news stories you would read coming out of Florida, like Tallahassee, Florida, or, somewhere like that. Now all the crazy stories are coming out of Oakland. They're coming out of Oakland. I mean, just the rampant crime, people at the airport, are just being accosted. All the businesses have left. You've got miles and miles of homelessness. Oakland to me is it has been overrun. It has been overrun. And I don't know at any point in time in the near future that they're going to get better. They've got a district attorney. They just voted in a district attorney that is like, basically going down this progressive road. This is how we got there. Right? You guys voted in those kind of folks. Oakland, you did. California, you did. State of Washington, we did. And then we're like, I don't understand how this policy results in this kind of just social breakdown. All of a sudden, we're telling people to get air horns. Air horns. What? Why? Well, because that's what you're going to use to defend, those 3 dudes that are carjacking you. Get an air horn. Just blast them. Just give them a, all right. Maybe that's the new solution, right? Burglaries in the city are up 41% and robberies by more than 20%. Those statistics are wildly underreported, guaranteed. Because people are giving up. They're just flat giving up. They're like, why should I report this? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. We don't have any policies in place to make that happen. We don't have enough cops. Oakland never defunded their police, though, I believe. So, you've just got some rampant crime going on in Oakland. Oakland's always had kind of that reputation, right? You got San Fran, kind of the more mature, more sophisticated, bigger brother. And then you got Oakland, kind of the younger problem child. It's always been that way. And it's always been just a little bit rougher, more inexpensive. You get what I'm getting at. Yeah. And so it's got a lot of crime issues. It's got a ton of crime issues. And now, I mean, it literally poster child for weird stories. I'm reading more and more from Oakland. It's crazy. But in the direction they've gone with, who they're electing, it's like, okay, this is what you guys get. This is the kind of policy that you want to have in place. Air horns are what you're recommending now. Huh. Okay. All right. I mean, I don't need to carry an air horn around here in Bellevue. Maybe someday down the road I will. It's like you got your daily carry. People talk about stuff you put in your pocket and you just carry around. Maybe your daily carry will be a small mini air horn that you can pull out of your pocket and hit the button as somebody assaults you and or tries to jack your car. Oakland resident Tony Bird indicated that she followed the advice of police and now has 3 air horns. You should be so proud, Tony. Yeah. Bird said the types of crime that we're seeing feel much more violent and the consequences feel much more severe. And it feels like the people that are being targeted are people who are vulnerable. Yes, and yes. Right? I mean, you're seeing a 80-year-old, was that in San Fran or was that Oakland? I think it was Oakland, the 80-year-old ice cream vendor who got just mugged. I mean, you're seeing some examples of depraved humanity, but the real issue is, what are you going to do to prevent this moving forward? You going to tighten down on these criminals? You going to throw them in jail? Now, with the district attorneys you're putting in place, that does not seem like a major goal. With all this progressive, we want to keep people out of prison. Yeah, the problem is you need a bunch of them in there because these people are committing these crimes willy-nilly. I mean, it's just ridiculously out of control to the point where you're recommending air horns. On Sunday, July 30th, 2023, a 75-year-old Oakland woman was home alone and armed with more than an air horn when 2 alleged armed intruders entered her house. The woman had a .357 Magnum revolver, which she used to fire one shot at the alleged intruders, KTVU reported. The alleged intruders fired multiple shots, then fled the scene. You're going to see more and more vigilante justice, right? The woman was not injured, and her daughter described her as Superwoman. Well, she could have also been killed over some stuff, right? So that's the rub. Should residents be taking up arms and shooting back? I'm not a huge in favor of that, of vigilantism, however you say it, being, you're going down that road, basically defending your turf. But I think that's basically all you've got left. If somebody's going to take something from you, you got to defend yourself. So from that standpoint, how about, I'm okay with it. But then you're literally going down this road where you're just basically eliminating the police. You're taking them out of the picture, which when you tell the residents to have an air horn handy, that's kind of where you sit, right? That's where you sit. Got that air horn handy? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yep. We living in Oakland, got that air horn. Is there going to be a run on air horns? I mean, is that something that, the Amazon resellers need to gear up for? Air horns, maybe a tiny little portable air horn, a big industrial air horn for, your front door, maybe a mid-size one for the back door, another mid-size one for your vehicle. Do you have one that you could wear around your neck when you're going out for a walk? You're taking the dog out for a walk, just big air horn. Or do you just take a gun? These are things that we shouldn't even be having this conversation about, but we're literally talking about picking up an air horn because that's your last resort. I know a lot of you guys out there are going to say, nah, I'm not going to screw the air horn. I'm just going to go right to my gun. We'll see how that works out. Try that in a small town, right? Yeah, there's a real ruckus about that song, isn't there? If you haven't heard, yeah, big ruckus, because it's basically stating, in a small town, we tend to defend our own, and we have arms and we will use them. What I was going to say earlier was did you see the mini mart owner who the thief had taken a big garbage can with a liner in it, and he was just dumping cigarettes. He was behind the counter, just robbing this store blind. And people are saying, don't get involved. Don't do anything. Talking to the store owner, who was just watching this dude just shuffle, dozens and dozens of, packs of cigarettes into this garbage can. And then eventually one of the store owners got a hold of the dude, and the other store owner brings this big stick and just starts wailing on him. I mean, just wailing on him, like just beating him. And the guy taking the camera taking the video footage. He was trying to get a Swisher Sweet from the guy robbing the store. Hey man, can I get a Swisher Sweet? Can I get a smoke? And he went from that to, he's beating your ass. It was just, that is called beating your ass. I mean, and that's literally what these store owners are up against. Now, the sad part of that story is I believe that store owner is up on charges of assault because it left welts on the perpetrator's legs. So now, instead of, the whole thing is just so upside down. It's so upside down that when people fight back, they're the ones getting in trouble. It's so upside down that police are saying, yeah, you need an air horn. I mean, this is in America, right? That's some wild stuff. If that isn't an indicator of where you're at, all right, yeah. And this is coming from the police. Okay, let's give this one a try, guys. I'll get yourself an air. Is there going to be a run on air horns at Home Depot? I can't believe that this is the situation we're in. But then when you think about it and you look at all these news stories coming out, I mean, how about the Gucci store in, I think that was San Fran, or was that? I think that was San Fran. You got a dozen people just running in and just ripping stuff off and taking off. Would an air horn have stopped them? Hell no. But it might stop an individual perpetrator. It's like, oh God, that is loud. I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, if you want to give it a shot, that's fine. But I think the vast majority of people are afraid to have that confrontation with people. Vast majority of people, especially in cities run like this, Democrat-run cities, they will not arm themselves and they will just become victims. So the air horn thing, so few people are going to get an air horn because it's ridiculous. Shouldn't have to. But this is what it's come to. And then some jackass, real estate guy up in Seattle is, reporting on it. Things are so bad in Oakland that you need an air horn to protect yourself. An air horn? Why is that? Well, because the police are recommending it. So in conclusion, this is preposterous, but also probably necessary because people have to do something, right? They got to fight back somehow. And this is, a non-lethal. You might burst your eardrums. Those gosh darn things are loud. You might burst your eardrums, but if you're being robbed or assaulted or whatever, yeah, your eardrums are probably the least of your concern. Whatever you can do to rock the boat of whatever perpetrators are trying to get to you. I just don't know if, are we going to start to see incident after incident of robberies hindered or stopped from air horns? I don't know, but I do want to find out. So get out that popcorn because this isn't going away. Are more and more cities going to recommend this? Yeah, probably. If it works, if enough people do it, but just having this conversation is absolutely moronic, right? Just the fact that we're having this conversation, that means things are so out of control that Cops are literally recommending, yeah, get yourself an air horn. It's how we protect ourselves in 2023. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. Not good. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I'm out of here. We'll catch up with you in the next one. Go get your air horn. Rush out right now. Or maybe do a little Amazon. Get that air horn. Hey, maybe you live in a city where you don't need an air horn. There's that. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up in the next one. Bye for now.